This is a story about an atypical good person who is both rough and cheap. Jian Lai unexpectedly unlocked the powerful ability, see gone, that was even more powerful than the soul leaving the body, which was both exciting and fun, making him unable to stop from then on. Two voices in my mind were fighting. You perverted voyeur. I'm just exercising my thinking. You spy on others' privacy. Only by deeply understanding can we distinguish between good and bad, and promote good and eliminate evil. You extort money. The one who knocked is the bad guy, the money is used in the right way. You sneak a peek at others' rolling sheets. Collect evidence of an affair. You're so cheap. But I'm not bad, many people say I'm a good person. Chapter 1. Peeping Rapists and Extorting 5 Million Yuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jane is peeping. He was peeking at Yan Honggang, the head of the 1601 apartment downstairs. This guy is a seemingly successful person on the surface, but the CEO of Honggang Film and Television Entertainment Company is actually not a good person. A few days ago, this guy raped a new female artist under the company's umbrella at home. After the incident, he used various methods such as deception and threats to make the victim afraid to report to the police. Although it is common for artists to sleep with executives and bosses of the opposite sex in order to rise to power in a chaotic circle, the nature of voluntarily sleeping is completely different from being raped. Jian Lai himself is not a gentleman and also enjoys beauty. Combined with the desire to match strong physical fitness, there is no shortage of rolling sheets with women. But the color returns to the color, the rolling returns to the rolling, he has a principle. You must love me. It's not voluntary, that's bad behavior. It's a bad behavior, then we must control it. Unfortunately, he peeped too late that day, and by the time he peeked, that guy had already finished his bad deeds. Since we cannot save people on the spot, we can only punish them afterwards. But he didn't immediately file a case to investigate, but decided to extort 5 million from this guy first. He really enjoys doing things like robbing the rich to help the poor. For him, it's just a common occurrence. Punishing such a wealthy and evil person while also making a sum of money is his basic operation. He didn't go to work today, but stayed at home just to see how this person is coping. Because he deliberately chose the extortion message that was sent only in the middle of last night. As expected, the rapist had already sent someone to inspect the house early in the morning. To his surprise, the person he found was actually an inspector named Xiuxiu from the criminal support department of their police department. The name sounds nice and righteous, but actually helps rapists with work. Can it be righteous? Maybe he's just a black police officer. It seems that we need to pay attention to it in the future. So he added another name to his criminal blacklist. Watching the colleague who seemed to be a black police officer busy coming and going there, Jian Lai laughed out loud. If you can identify the problem, then there's a ghost. He didn't even install any surveillance equipment in this rapist's house. His way of peeping is very high-end, and there is no risk of exposure. Because he uses thinking. A superpower that is quite similar to soul out of the body, but more powerful. As an extraterrestrial creature, he not only possesses a powerful body far beyond human limits, but also possesses various magical superpowers that go against human science. Underwater breathing, mental control, energy therapy. As well as the newly unlocked thoughts and feelings a few years ago. Thought is not as powerful as imagination, but it is more practical. Used for peeping, oh no, for reconnaissance, it's just a miracle. He has made great contributions in investigating people, solving cases, and even arresting criminals. Although the sense of thought cannot penetrate thick obstacles such as walls, doors, and windows, it can freely change its shape, such as condensing into thin threads and passing through the gaps of doors and windows. Unless it is a completely airtight place, he can freely penetrate his thoughts and feelings through the gaps, and then detect them like an invisible probe. The key is that this probe is also very advanced, real-time, ultra clear, can freely adjust the distance, and has no dead angles in all directions. Jiang Sir, is it really okay? Mr. Yan, I have checked several times and can be 100% certain that there are no monitoring devices. Yan Honggang frowned, no surveillance. How did they discover his privacy? Do you use a telescope? That's not right, but they even heard every conversation. But with Inspector Zhang's confirmation, what else can he say? It seems that we can only give money. If someone really posts a video online, it's not just a disgrace, it's likely to go to jail. Fortunately, this person is just seeking wealth. Just treat it as spending money to alleviate the disaster. Although 5 million is not a small number, it is still acceptable. It's just a pity that such a good house. Although Inspector Jiang confirmed that there was no problem, he also had a psychological shadow and dared not stay here anymore. Jiang Sir, I have 2 other houses and I need to work hard for you to inspect them all. Mr. Yan, you're welcome. It's just a small gesture. 10 minutes later, Jian Lai received a call from Pang Ran. Brother Lai, we have received the payment. Okay. How to allocate it? Jian Lai pondered for a moment and asked, has the situation at Teacher Li's house been verified? I have checked it out. Both husband and wife are teachers, loyal and kind-hearted, and have a good reputation at school. Our family's financial situation is average, so buying this house is considered very aggressive, and a portion of the down payment was borrowed from relatives. Jian Lai nodded unconsciously, consistent with the situation he had peeked at himself. Turn 1 million over. Teacher Li and his wife live downstairs from him. This family has been in big trouble recently, and their son, who has just entered high school, has leukemia. Do you want to leave a message? Let's keep it this way. A family of good deeds and accumulated virtues should not have such retribution. God will help you. This is not that he wants to pretend to be forced, but that he thinks it can create a virtuous cycle, so that good people can continue to be good. He has always believed that he is not worthy of being called a good person, but he sincerely hopes that there will be more and more good people in this world. Pang Ran first responded with a yes and then continued to ask the boss, what about the remaining 4 million? Save 1 million to account number 4. Take 1 million out to organize a team-building activity with more prizes. Brothers have been working hard lately. Then, after a moment of reflection, he continued. You still have 2 million to manage and see if there are any good projects. If not, transfer to an investment company. Brother Lai, Li Ji Tea restaurant next door wants to change hands. Jian Lai was taken aback and asked, Li Ji wants to change hands. Isn't business always good? I heard something big happened at home. Old Li's heart was cold and he didn't want to work anymore. How much do you want? I probed Lao Li's mouth and offered a price of 10 million yuan. However, I think we should be able to get 900 yuan. I'll go over for dinner tonight. Okay. Hanging up the phone, Jian Lai's attention returned to Saigon and continued to observe the CEO surnamed Yan for a while. Seeing the latter's expression seem to have relaxed a lot, he couldn't help but sneer to himself. This guy actually thinks that spending money can alleviate the disaster. It's really naive. How could he possibly let the rapist go? This 5 million is just a bonus he easily received when punishing evil. Next, he will use both public and private means to focus on monitoring the rapist and collecting evidence. He felt that this guy must have raped more than just one female artist, and he didn't believe that the latter would be able to control the second one and stop from then on just because he was extorted once. Unfortunately, although the ability to think and feel is both magical and practical, it also has 2 major drawbacks. Otherwise, he can directly arrest someone after receiving the money. The first drawback is that thoughts and feelings can only be intangible and cannot be physically active. It's a bit like watching a movie, visible and audible, but it can't affect everything in the movie. This is also why he named this ability Saigon by himself. But what's even stronger than watching movies is that this feeling is not only visual and auditory, but also olfactory, and even tactile, and so on. Because he had once tried to touch his face with his senses, which provided clear feedback on the tactile experience, but his face had no sensation of being touched at all. So thinking can only be used to discover problems, but cannot solve them. Sometimes even if one can witness a crime with their own eyes, it cannot be stopped in real time. The second disadvantage is that he can see and hear, but cannot take photos or record videos like surveillance equipment. That is to say, he cannot leave evidence. He extorted this person surnamed Yen by playing psychological tactics. By sending detailed descriptions to the latter to scare and threaten to send photos and videos online if money is not given. Actually, he doesn't have any photos or videos at all. If this rapist doesn't fall for it, he really can't do anything, at least until he finds other evidence. Chapter 2. I'm really not good, why don't you let Xiuxiu accompany you? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li Ji Tea Restaurant not only has a good location and thriving business, but also has several key industries that are relatively close to Jian Lai. The bar is right next door, and investment companies, pawn shops, and computer game studios are all on the same street. The private restaurant is located in the park at the end of the street. The two car repair shops are slightly further away, on the adjacent street, but they are less than 3 kilometers away. So when he heard that Lao Li was going to take action, Pang Ran immediately had an idea and suggested that the boss eat it. In the small box of Lao Fang's private kitchen, Jian Lai and his 5 core members, Pang Ran, Xiao Runan, Fang Ligua, Bao Yi, and Xiao He, ate and talked. Except for Xiao He, he is the youngest, but everyone calls him brother and there is no sense of discord. He always acted decisively. After listening to Pang Ran's analysis and soliciting opinions from everyone, especially Runan, he made a decision on the spot. Let Pang Ran talk specifically, 9.5 million is acceptable, and we will strive to talk about 9 million. Subsequently, he briefly listened to reports on the situation of each industry and analyzed and discussed some issues and directions together. Bao Yi was speaking there when Jian Lai's face suddenly changed. Then he interjected directly, let's do this today. Runan stays. At first, everyone was taken aback, but then they quickly left the scene without saying anything, very tacitly. Leave Xiao Runan with a blushing face. Brother Lai, don't. Please, don't. Don't be here. Xiao Runan's voice was a bit wheezing, and it was intermittent because she kept saying a few words and her mouth was blocked. There is an objective reason why Jian Lai was so impatient and started directly in the private room. He understood his own physical condition, and it was likely that those days had arrived again. Just like a mature woman who has a cycle every month, this alien male also has a cycle. Since his maturity, there will always be 3 or 4 days a month, just like when an animal is in heat, the desire will be much stronger than usual. And this intensity seems to have been slowly increasing. What troubles him is that his cycle is completely irregular. It's possible that he just came yesterday, his desires were released, and he will come again today. Fortunately, before each episode, he had a special feeling. At least there is a short buffer time left for him to be mentally and physically prepared. He just suddenly had that feeling again, so he immediately chose to interrupt the meeting. Otherwise, if the momentum gets stronger and loses control on the spot, the scene won't look good. Although everyone present is a confidant, it's quite awkward, especially Runan, where should she put her face in the future? As soon as everyone dispersed, Jian Lai immediately brought the woman over. Xiao Runan knew what was going to happen when he suddenly broke up and asked himself to stay, but she never expected that he would move directly in the private room. Although Pang Ran is old enough, he will definitely explain himself well when he leaves and no one will disturb him. But even so, after all, this is the place where everyone just ate together, it's really shameful. Especially, my cousin Ning Xiuxiu is downstairs. Jian Lai is not only lustful during those days, but he usually has good self-control. But when those days came, he couldn't even guarantee that he would lose control. Under the domination of strong desire, he did have a strong impulse to take Nan Nan to the right place. Fortunately, he knew that the beauty in his arms was still thin-skinned. After hearing the plea, he managed to restrain himself with supreme perseverance and did not continue to harm him. In the luxurious suite on the 3rd floor, Xiao Runan's body was covered in jade, and his whole body was limp, even losing the strength to speak. That's crazy. She didn't even know how many times she had wanted to be immortal and die. If this bad guy came again, she suspected that she wasn't trying to die, but was really going to be killed. Thank goodness. This kid seems to have regained consciousness. Jian Lai felt a bit guilty. He knew how strong his body was, so he was always happy and restrained. He knew that if he were to fully unleash it, normal human women would not be able to withstand his strong campaign. In addition to apologizing, he felt a bit puzzled. What's going on today? Why is it so much stronger than the past few days? Are we going to evolve again? Because he remembers that every time he unlocked a new ability, his body would show some abnormal performance. He hesitated for a long time as he looked at the remnants of the pear blossom beside the woman after the rain, but ultimately did not use the energy healing ability. Because this ability may have some strange side effects. It's not a last resort, he really doesn't want to use it. Although Nan Nan looks a bit miserable, she is not really injured, and she exercises year-round with good physical fitness. With good rest, she will naturally recover. After a while, Xiao Runan finally regained some strength. She wrapped her arm around it and whispered, "Brother, I'm really not good. How about letting Xiuxiu accompany you?" Upon hearing Xiuxiu, Jian Lai's eyes quickly flashed with a green and pure face, as well as the shy expression on her face every time she looked at her. It's really easy to arouse a man's desire to conquer. He restrained his emotions strongly and slowly said, "No, she's still a girl." However, Xiao Runan keenly felt the instant change in his body and smiled coquettishly, "But it wants it. Don't provoke me anymore, otherwise I will really eat your cousin. Eat it and then eat it. I've noticed Xiuxiu's gaze at you for a long time. She must be willing." Jane smiled bitterly. "Did you do this as a sister? Besides, I am really a person with principles." Xiao Runan fell silent and didn't stir up any more flames. She increasingly felt that it was difficult to support herself on her own and had long thought of finding someone to share the firepower. Then she knew very well that Xiuxiu likes to come to her brother, which is no wonder, the latter is so handsome and charming. That's why she betrayed her cousin. As Brother Lai said, he has principles. According to his own way of speaking, he likes to have men and women, but he doesn't want to have emotional burdens, let alone be bound by marriage. She remembered herself. If it weren't for positioning herself correctly in the beginning, only being a lover and not having any status, probably Brother Lai would have refused. After discovering that her husband had an affair, she decisively divorced and then wanted to wear it. Lai Gu is so handsome, so strong, and so capable. She is willing to be his lover. Xiuxiu is different from herself. She is still a beautiful girl, should she also be her lover for the rest of her life like herself? She silently sighed. Slowly speaking. What should you do? I can't bear it anymore. Jian Lai is a bit restless, but with Nan Nan's excellent physical fitness, he can basically enjoy himself. I don't know what's going on today. You're very tired today, go to bed quickly. I'll just take a cold shower and everything will be fine. He charged for a full 15 minutes and finally felt a little calmer. When she returned, Nan Nan had already fallen into a deep sleep. He quietly looked at this stunning face, lost in memories. Chapter 3. Are you a virgin playing one night stand? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Runan's joining of the small group Jian Lai was purely accidental. After the divorce, she had a hot head and wanted to indulge herself, so she casually went to a nightclub to seek excitement. Her luck is very good. I ran into this super handsome little brother Jian Lai on my first flight. Both sides were very satisfied with each other's appearance, so it was natural for them to have a one-night stand. Not only are you satisfied with your appearance now. So, one-night stands naturally developed into multi-night stands. Later on, she became Jane's lover. It was indeed her initiative to bring it up, but Jane knew that she also liked them very much. In addition to her beautiful appearance and sexy body, Runan also has an indescribable special charm that makes him very attracted and even somewhat addicted. However, although they were clearly attracted to each other, they did not become boyfriend and girlfriend. Because he dare not. He is afraid of killing close people. He once calculated his fate when he was young, and his master said that he was destined to commit the heavenly Sha Lone Star, but at that time he didn't understand much and didn't even take it seriously. At the age of 14, he entered his first year of high school and both of his foster parents were killed. 3 months later, he personally avenged his foster parents in his own way, establishing his life goal of punishing evil and promoting good, weeding out the strong and supporting the weak, but at the same time, he also embarked on a gray path of no return. In the second semester of his freshman year, he met the first girl in his life that he truly liked, Tan Yen, at a college social event. One night after a year of dating, he kissed and said goodbye to Yen, who was hit by a speeding car in his farewell gaze. He died on the spot and didn't even have a chance to save his life with his abilities. First his parents, then his lover, which reminded him of the fortune teller's words. From then on, he developed a serious psychological shadow and no longer dared to immerse himself in true emotions. In addition, with the physiological characteristics of having a few days every month, his life began to become more promiscuous. Until more than 3 years ago, he met the second woman he fell in love with at first sight, MOC. He worked hard to overcome his psychological barriers and fell in love. How hateful that heaven envies beauty again. Another year later, MOC unfortunately died in the Jian shopping mall explosion. Afterwards, he never came out of the shadows again. And completely become a prodigal son. He would rather become a ruthless scumbag than implicate close people or even kill them. So, if Nan just wanted to be his lover, he hesitated for a long time before agreeing. And he also lives alone, only occasionally going overnight. After establishing a romantic relationship, Xiao Runan quickly entered Jian Lai's core circle. Pang Ran has already proposed several times that all industries are under his control, with a focus on power and finances, resulting in too much responsibility and pressure. Therefore, it is strongly recommended to find a trusted professional responsible for financial rights. Jian Lai has absolute trust in Pang Ran and appreciates his sense of propriety. Moreover, from the perspective of managing security, the latter's words do make sense. But professional talents are easy to find, but it takes a process to fully trust them. Especially his money, most of it is ill-gotten gains from unknown sources. Since Xiao Runan has become his lover, he is certainly the best choice. She is a master's degree in finance from the School of Finance and Economics at Xiuxiu University, and is definitely a top student. So she naturally joined and soon established an investment company. After a while, the effect of cold water seemed to disappear, and Jian Lai began to feel the dryness of her body again, interrupting her thoughts of memories. He glanced at the sweet sleeping face of the woman and couldn't bear to fight again. He simply stood up and decided to go to the bar to play. Similar to most nightclubs, the night on the other side bar inevitably offers a variety of men and women seeking excitement and playing one-night stands. However, as the behind-the-scenes owner and frequent visitor of this bar, he usually only goes to drink and chat. Of course, if a woman with excellent looks comes to flirt, he won't be polite either. That's why he had his first time with Xiao Runan. As for those who came to flirt again later, except for one time when he happened to have an impulse, he refused everything else. Because with a top-notch product like Runan, his vision directly increased by a significant margin. Afterwards, if Nan becomes his lover, he will stay in a small clubhouse not far from here, and there is no need for him to seek other pleasures. But tonight, he didn't have all the fun and really wanted his desires to be fully unleashed. So he plans to try his luck. His idea is, as long as someone comes to flirt and he can enjoy it, then get lost. Being handsome is indeed easy to attract bees and butterflies. Within 10 minutes of sitting down, a butterfly flew by. "Handsome guy, can you treat me to a drink?" Jian took a look and found that the facial contour was decent, but the makeup was thick and the seductive posture made her look like an experienced hand. "Sorry, I just want to drink my own. Since it's not very pleasing to the eye, then pass." In fact, he also demands too much. He would even take the initiative to flirt at nightclubs, which one is not an old hand. Like Xiuxiu, wanting to be released once after divorce is purely accidental. After a while, another one came. "Oh my, it's not as good as just now. More pass." He was considering whether to take the initiative and looked around to see if anyone could pass, when suddenly a pleasant voice came from his ear. "Brother, can I sit next to you?" Jane turned her head around and then froze. In front of me is an extremely beautiful and delicate melon seed face, without any makeup. Judging from this delicate skin, it must be very young. What's even more terrifying is that besides her top-notch appearance no less than Runan, she also has a pure temperament that rivals Xiuxiu's. With this beauty and temperament, even in college, it is still a proper school flower. But this is not a campus, it's a special nightclub. "Girl, did you enter the wrong set?" The young and beautiful little girl looked at him staring at her, but remained silent. She then asked softly, "Brother, can I sit next to you?" Jian only then realized and quickly replied, "Sit, whatever you want." After a brief moment of silence, "Brother, can you treat me to a drink?" Her voice became even lighter. Jian feels a bit unbelievable. This scene is too TMD out of sync. "Girl, do you know what it means to have a man treat you to a drink in such a place?" "I know." "Are you sure you know?" "I am very certain." "Okay, since that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite, brother. Not to mention that he is still in an impulsive period now, even if it's normal for such a top-notch girl to take the initiative to flirt with him, it's difficult for him as a prodigal to withstand it." All passion finally returned to tranquility. Jane looked at the crimson on the bedsheet without any reaction for a long time. In fact, he had already realized something was wrong. The various reactions of this girl in the earlier stages were really too green. In the critical moments that follow, I beg him to be less painful. He gave a bitter smile. I can't really blame him. Even if he noticed something unusual, he still couldn't believe that this was really a baby. "Are you really teasing me?" "Hello, a high-end virgin with top-notch looks and temperament. She went to nightclubs and had a one-night stand with someone." Chapter 4. Thank you for letting me have no regrets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Thank you for letting me have no regrets. Jian Lai turned her gaze to the woman who had just upgraded from a girl and asked in a gentle voice as much as possible. "Why?" Although the question was unclear, the woman clearly understood. "I was sold by my dad." "What?" "He's a terrible gambler who lost over 1 million yuan at a mahjong parlor. If he didn't have the money to pay back, he signed with someone and sold me." Jane is speechless. Okay, there really is such a father in this world. Then he began to pay attention to the details. In the Star Moon Federation, population trafficking is absolutely illegal. "What do you mean by sold specifically?" "He asked me to sleep with others tomorrow." Jian now understands that it was the first night of selling girls. The girl gave a mournful smile. "Since I can't escape, I must be slept by someone. Then I might as well find someone who is pleasing to the eye and make my first time at least a little better." Then you don't have to come to the nightclub to find it. How many men who like to play in nightclubs can be good people? Jane's words have also insulted herself. But it's nothing, he never thought he was a good person. Can a prodigal son, even a scumbag, who often does things that don't follow the rules or even break the law, be considered a good person? Of course, he doesn't think he's a bad person. Is there such a bad person who takes justice as the criterion for all actions, punishes the wicked, assists the weak, does good deeds, accumulate virtue, and enjoys helping others? I didn't originally want to. What happened later? I have a boyfriend who is my classmate. I originally wanted to give him, but what happened to the result? He dare not touch me. Dare not touch you. Why? He collected 500,000 yuan from the creditor, promised not to touch me, and broke up with me. Nima, what kind of people are these? Also, this creditor is greedy enough. Not only do I want to sleep, but I also really want to keep sleeping with this girl. But I didn't blame him either. He's a loyal and honest good person, very talented, and quite handsome. It's just that his family is too poor. I'm just blaming myself for my poor fate. In my dad's eyes, I'm only worth 1 million. In my boyfriend's eyes, I'm only worth 500,000. Hee hee, hee hee. Jian let out a deep sigh, no wonder she gave up on herself and went straight to the nightclub. Then he smiled and thought to himself, it's a fortunate coincidence that you've met me. Although I am not a good person, I am definitely not a bad person. At least I will help you. Because, punishing evil and promoting good, weeding out the strong and supporting the weak, is a mission bestowed upon me by heaven, and it is my life goal. Even if you are a stranger and encounter such an unfortunate situation, I will still help you. Besides, I even slept with you. Moreover, I slept for your first time. What's your name? Although they had the closest contact with negative distance, they didn't know what they called each other. It's not a big deal, this is a one-night stand, not looking for a partner. You need to know your name for what? Interestingly, they didn't even ask each other their last names. One is only called Brother Ren, and the other is only called Sister Ren. Hee hee. The girl hesitated for a moment, but still gave her full name and explained it in detail. My name is Xiuxiu. The revived Su, the city's city, the snowy snow. After speaking, she glanced at the handsome and overly handsome brother, thought for a moment, and then added. You can call me Xiuxiu. The name sounds great, it matches your appearance and temperament very well. Jian Lai first praised it and then introduced herself. Jane. Simple Jane, come and go. After speaking, he smiled and added, you can call me brother. Thank you, brother. She didn't call her Lai Gu, but instead used a more affectionate Lai Gu. Jian smiled again, thinking that she had a girl-like personality, and Ling Shanshan also called him that. But where does this thank you start from? I slept with you and took away your first night. Do you still thank me? Thank you for letting me have no regrets, Xiuxiu whispered with a shy expression on her face. Jian remembered what she had just said, make your first time at least a little better, and understood her meaning. Although she went to the nightclub at all costs, she must be very anxious in her heart. Fortunately, she belongs to her favorite person. More importantly, he had already guessed something after discovering her green and astringent performance, especially her sore breath. So he did everything in his power to be gentle, allowing her to fully enjoy the pleasure of being a woman without hurting her. So she didn't regret her first time. Just don't regret it. I hope you won't regret it in the future. Next, Jane asked about her specific situation, including her own situation, family situation, etc. The latter may really be a simple little girl, or they may have been holding it for a long time and need to confide in each other. He casually asked and surprisingly revealed everything about his one-night stand partner, and he kept talking non-stop. Jian Lai listened patiently and attentively without interrupting a word. After hearing this, I started thinking about plans while listening. After finally confiding in him, he had an idea. He tenderly caressed the little woman's head and said in a very gentle voice. Xiuxiu, you're tired. Go to sleep well. When you wake up, you'll have no worries. Xiuxiu is indeed tired. Previously, her heart was tired, but now her body is also very tired. After confiding, her mood relaxed a lot. And the man's voice seemed to have a magical power, making her feel very at ease. After a while, she fell into a deep sleep. Jane didn't sleep. His body was so strong that he became abnormal. Even after a series of battles, he didn't feel tired at all. Instead, after his desires were released, his spirit became even clearer. He plans to solve the problem overnight, just take it as an explanation. By chance, he took this girl for the first time, even if she said she didn't regret it, he still felt a bit guilty himself. After all, he is a principled wanderer. Jian didn't come to see Pang Ran this time. The latter has strong abilities, but he has too many things to manage and is already very hardworking. It's better not to disturb him with such a small matter. He called Xiaohei. The latter joined the core small group for a short time, only 2 months earlier than Runan. But Jian Lai also trusts him very much. Firstly, he was introduced by Pang Ran. Secondly, he has a straightforward and simple personality, without any frivolous thoughts. He can do whatever he is asked to do. This kid has been practicing martial arts since childhood. Although he is thin, his combat power is quite amazing. Belongs to the type of, people don't talk too much, society is my black brother. Xiuxiu was lifted out of bed by someone. He, with sleepy eyes, is not yet fully awake. However, surrounded by 2 men with fierce gazes, he did feel a bit uneasy. Tell me about your gambling debt, said the man in charge, a super handsome young man. Gambling debt. Isn't it already resolved? Sigh, I'm really sorry for my daughter. Seeing that he didn't react, Xiaohei directly shaved his scalp. Hey buddy, let you talk. Xiuxiu quickly explained the causes and consequences. He was not foolish. Although he didn't know these people were here to help him, he immediately understood that they were not here to find fault. So he spoke in great detail, including his own experience of being tricked. He was indeed tricked. He is an old gambler who plays mahjong all year round, winning and losing. Even if he sometimes owes a little during downturns, it's still tens of thousands. This time it was because someone found out he had a beautiful daughter and targeted him. The guy who set up a trap is Yang Xiuxiu, the owner of Wang Sparrow House, nicknamed Qingpi. After listening carefully, Jian Lai basically made a judgment. It should be true that you were able to provide such detailed and clear details at the last minute. Chapter 5. Punishing conscience and eliminating evil is my mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing a group of 3 people coming in, Kid felt a bit strange. The business hours of Wang Sparrow House are from noon to the morning of the next day, but except for a very small number of regular customers who visit regularly, basically from 1 to midnight, customers only leave but not enter. After all, he had seen many sparrows all night, but he rarely came over until midnight, and there were only 3 of them. Which private room is Qingpi in? In fact, Jian Lai has no idea whether Qingpi is here or not, this is just a questioning technique. Kid hesitated for a moment. But seeing this handsome guy staring coldly at him, his gaze made him feel uneasy. He quickly said. At 3:08. Xiaohei pushed the door in and asked directly, which one is Qingpi? Upon hearing these words, the 4 people who were working hard to build the Great Wall immediately turned their gaze towards them. Who are you, kid? Across the door, a burly man looked up and down at Xiaohei and Jian, spat out a few cigarette rings, and arrogantly asked. Xiuxiu hid outside the door, so he didn't see it. Jian Lai gently parted the hem of the windbreaker, revealing the police badge and gun at his waist, and said calmly. Police affairs. The king of gamblers tournament is over, Qingpi stays behind. What should other gambling gods do? After hearing these words, several people were slightly stunned before reluctantly standing up and collecting the money in front of them. Then he lazily shook past Jian Lai one by one, leaving only the man who had just asked sitting on the chair. Obviously, he is just green-skinned. Hey, continue tomorrow night. Qingpi obviously hasn't had enough addiction yet, shouting to the three friends who walked to the door. After the three of them rushed out in unison, Jian walked forward and sat down in the seat opposite Qingpi. Xiao He stood next to him. Sir, why don't you work so hard? It's already late at night and you're still working. Qingpi said with a strange tone, feeling very displeased that he was interrupted in his excitement. After listening to the two sentences, Jane knew that this guy was definitely an old fogey. He is well aware that following the rules is not feasible for dealing with such people. Coincidentally, he happens to be someone who doesn't like to follow the rules. Seeing that Xiuxiu still didn't dare to come in, he gave Xiao He a command. Bring Lao Su in. Seeing Xiuxiu, Qingpi's expression changed. Xindao, isn't this old man giving in? Why did the police come to intervene, and it was still late at night? Jian stared at Qingpi and coldly said. Did you set up a trap for Lao Su by 1 million? Sir, Lao Su lost 1 million playing sparrows in my restaurant, but he recognized it himself and signed it all in black and white. Exactly, take out this signed paper and I'll just pretend that the game never happened. Ha ha ha. Kid, which one are you in charge of? What position are you in? You speak so loudly. Let me tell you, the senior inspector of the anti-black bureau in the headquarters, Gao Lang, is my iron buddy. Skolon. This person is Jian Lai's acquaintance, but he hasn't made a deep acquaintance. It's Senior Inspector Gao Lang. Qingpi felt a bit proud. Seeing Jian Lai so young, he naturally thought that his position was not much higher, and the inspector was already impressive. Will the historical inspector cover you up for the scam of 1 million people? Sir, everything must be based on evidence. Willing to give up? What game to play? Xiao He, it seems that Qingpi brother is not clear enough. Give him a boost. Xiao He waited on the side for a long time, then grinned at the words, revealing white teeth that contrasted greatly with his dark skin. After a while, the bruised face and swollen skin from the beating could no longer be arrogant. A hero who doesn't suffer immediate losses and doesn't hand over the contract paper is afraid of being beaten to death. This little black man looks very thin and doesn't pull much. He's really ruthless when he moves his hands. He hates to death in his heart. Grass your horse, is this a police officer? TMD is even more unruly than thugs. Is this one? Xiuxiu took the paper and carefully looked at it before repeatedly saying, this is it, this is it. Jane smiled and took it back, folded it up and put it in her pocket. Qingpi, as I mentioned earlier, as long as you hand over the paper, the business of the bureau will be settled like this. Qingpi pretended to be silly on the surface, but said in his heart, you really think so beautifully. I keep my word. I won't trouble you again. But if you still want to cause trouble, don't blame me for being impolite. Also, Gao Lang is your buddy, isn't he? If you're not convinced, let him come to me. Remember, my name is Jian, the senior inspector of the district's serious case team. Qingpi was taken aback for a moment, thinking that he was a senior inspector at such a young age. And judging from his tone, it's obvious that he didn't take SIR seriously. I covered up this old Su, teasing him is equivalent to teasing me. Remember. For the sake of Xiuxiu, we decided to solve Lao Su's problem once and for all. Otherwise, even though this $1 million matter is over, it would still be troublesome for them to find old Xiuxiu again. Qingpi cursed inwardly, saying that there was a senior inspector covering Lao Su. Why didn't he say it before? But his mouth kept saying, remember. Remember. Okay, that's all for the game. Qingpi just breathed a sigh of relief, but then heard Asir continue, now calculate my woman's account. Qingpi didn't react for a moment. That's the woman you want to sleep with tomorrow night and keep sleeping. The sound was icy cold and piercing. Even though it was still late spring, Qingpi had a feeling of being in an ice cellar. It's not me, Sir, how dare I? Isn't it you? Who is that? Is it Skolon? No, Sir has no choice but to drink and not be lascivious. Who is that? Yes. Yes. Xiao He swung the guy's big palm and shouted, speak up. It's Brother Leopard. Brother Leopard. Sun Gongbao. Yes, it's him. Qingpi secretly observed Jian Lai's reaction while speaking. Don't be fooled by the fact that there are only 5 or 6 people around. This time, it was also because Bao Gu had a crush on Lao Su's daughter, and Lao Su was a frequent visitor to his sparrow house. This big shot found the door and asked him to set up a game. Otherwise, for someone of this level, he wouldn't be able to find a way to flatter them normally. Then, he observed that Jian Lai not only had no fear, but also showed a hint of sarcastic sneer. This made him secretly surprised, thinking to himself, what did this kid come from? Jian Lai was indeed sneering. What a coincidence. He knows the background of Sun Gongbao like the back of his hand. Because this is his key voyeur in the past few months. This is a notorious martial arts tycoon with a strong influence. Although he is already aware of many illegal and criminal activities, they were all discovered through peeping and he cannot leave any evidence. The key is that this matter also involves high-level black police officers. So he hasn't figured out how to punish evil yet. As for now, since this villain wants to bully my woman, he must go to hell. Who made him sleep with Xiuxiu? As the saying goes, the hand that takes people is soft, the mouth that eats people is soft. He sleeps, sigh, his heart is soft. If you don't help me to the end, I'll feel uneasy. Anyway, punishing and eliminating evil is already his mission. Moreover, this matter happens to be both public and private. Chapter 6. Girl, you don't have to sell yourself anymore. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Walking to the door, Jian suddenly turned around and asked coldly. Oh, Qingpi brother, what's wrong with your face? It's not like you were beaten, is it? You're really joking, Sir. I just drank too much and fell. Oh, be careful from now on. Breaking your skin is a small matter, and if you fall and become paralyzed, it will be troublesome. Qingpi turned pale and said with a mournful expression, thank you for your concern, Sir. I will definitely be careful in the future. When the figure of Jian finally disappeared, Qingpi breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know what's going on, but when facing young people, he actually feels a strong sense of pressure. Qingpi. Qingpi was startled. How did this evil star come back again? It's not over yet. I'm planning to go find trouble with Sun Gongbao. You don't know how to spread the word, do you? Looking at the handsome man's expression, which seemed to be a smile rather than a smile, Qingpi was scared and broke out in a cold sweat. Ah Sir, I dare not borrow 10,000 courage from me. Besides, I have no connection with Leopard. I have no connection with this person surnamed Sunday. He brought this matter to my doorstep. His last statement is quite true. Then, although I didn't know exactly what this kid came from, he was so awesome, but Qingpi had a strong intuition. This Leopard brother is definitely going to have bad luck, and it's going to be a big disaster. Jian Lai has been closely monitoring Qingpi's reaction, and he has been secretly exerting strong mental pressure. It is expected that this little thug should not dare to do anything. When they arrived downstairs, Su Erqiang repeatedly thanked them. Upon hearing that his daughter had become the woman of this police officer, he thought to himself that he had benefited from misfortune and had a backup in the future. Don't rush to thank me yet, you owe me 1 million now. Xiuxiu was immediately dumbfounded, and his mood fell from heaven to hell. You used to be a car mechanic, right? Yes. Xiaohe has 2 car repair shops. You can go to work in the future. The salary is the same as other craftsmen, but you have to deduct 2,000 yuan per month until it reaches 1 million yuan. Xiuxiu was momentarily stunned, then understood, and his mood returned from hell to heaven. Thank you, Brother Lai, thank you Black. Although I owe 1 million, I am actually helping myself. No more gambling in the future. If you find yourself gambling again, chop your hands and feet for the first time. For the 3rd time, throw it directly into the lake to feed the fish. I dare not, I swear I will never gamble again. Thanks to you all this time, otherwise I would really have no face to see my daughter. Humph, you still have some conscience. If you dare to do anything wrong to your daughter again in the future, I will personally chop you up and feed you to the king. Jian Lai's voice was not loud, and her tone was also very calm. But Xiuxiu heard it in his ear, but his whole body felt cold. He quickly continued to swear, promising to treat his daughter well in the future. Wake up. Xiuxiu let out a light her eyes a bit numb. The dreamy last night has passed, and she still has to face the cruel reality again. Jane certainly knows the meaning of her numb expression. He sat next to her and leaned down to give her a light kiss on the forehead. The girl regained some vitality and her eyes also showed some expression. Can we meet again in the future? As long as you're willing. But after tonight, I won't be clean anymore, won't you dislike me? In my heart, you will always be the cleanest girl. Then, he gave the girl a tender glance and continued, as for tonight, if you're willing, you can still stay here. They are now in the room on the west side of the 3rd floor of the small club. There are only 2 large bedrooms on the 3rd floor, with Xiao Runan's room to the east. To the west is his. However, whenever he stayed overnight here before, as long as Runan was here, he would definitely sleep on the east side. Xiuxiu showed a poignant smile, of course she wanted to stay. But tonight, can we still let her alone? Her father signed her in black and white and sold her. Jian took out a folded piece of paper from her arms and handed it to the girl. Are you worried about this? The girl took it, opened it, and glanced at it, her expression instantly stiffened. Then, after carefully examining for a long time and confirming, she lifted her head and turned to the man, asking. You. How could this piece of paper be with you? Yesterday you told me about you, and after that, I went to find your dad. I asked your dad to take me to find the person who wrote, and then I took this paper back. Are you serious? Of course, otherwise where did this paper come from? Xiuxiu felt too unbelievable, but the content on this paper couldn't help but make her not believe it. How did you get back? You helped my dad repay the money. That's a whole million. Repay the money. Why do you have to repay the money? Your father was just tricked by someone else's scheme. The girl was a bit confused. She only knew that her father had lost a lot of money gambling, but she didn't know that there was even this insider involved. So they just gave you the paper like this? Of course not, he only gave it after I beat him up. The girl was even more confused. She had seen that blue skin before, big and rough. The older brother in front of me looked very gentle, and his figure was only average. She certainly didn't know that Jian Lai's strength was not reflected in her physique and muscles. And he doesn't even need to do it himself. Just a little thug, Xiaohe can easily clean up. Seeing that the girl didn't seem to fully believe her, Jian Lai spoke softly. Don't worry. Your problem has been completely solved. In fact, it only solved a small part, because Qingpi is just a runner, and the root problem lies in Sun Gongbao. But he has already come up with a clearance plan and is very confident. Well, and your dad, you don't have to worry about it anymore. I told him to quit gambling. I warned him, I'll cut off my hands once I bet, my feet the second time. I'll throw it into the lake the third time. Xiuxiu stared blankly at him. After a while, she suddenly burst into tears. Jian didn't comfort her because he knew the girl had finally believed her, and this big cry was just a burst of joy. After venting her emotions, the girl wrapped her hands around the man's neck and voluntarily offered her fragrant lips. A long, lingering wet kiss. Jane let go of the girl. Although it was evident from the latter's reaction that she was already emotional, he did not ask for her. Firstly, he doesn't want to take advantage of the situation. Secondly, although it's all one-night stands, this girl is completely different from those girls who are looking for love. He really hasn't figured out what to do to her. Get up, you can wash up first. I'll introduce you to a sister later. If you have anything in the future, you can come to her. When the girl entered the bathroom, Jane walked across from her. I have to go to work, so Xiuxiu will leave it to you. Runan first gave him a reassuring look and then asked in a low voice. Do you come over for dinner tonight? I have something to do today, so I won't come over. What's done with that? Her gaze revealed a strong and undisguised affection. Jian Lai chuckled lightly and said, Little fairy, I didn't feed you enough last night. I don't mind, I'm afraid your little snow sister will be eager to see through. What are you talking about? You look so handsome, which little girl wouldn't like you? And you're also her first man, helping her solve such a big problem. If it were me, I would definitely love you so much. Chapter 7. Xiuxiu girl perhaps has made a flower idiot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Xiuxiu girl perhaps has made a flower idiot. Jian Lai had not yet made up her mind, but upon hearing Runan's words, she quickly made up her mind. Nan, you can probe her later. If she wants to return to her normal life, then let her go and pretend nothing has happened. He thought to himself that although he had her first time, after all, it was your wish, and he also helped her a lot, so he wouldn't owe her any more. It's not a problem to probe. However, in my opinion, this situation is impossible. Jian Lai smiled helplessly, and of course, he knew the killing power of his face on the little girl. And in the girl's performance on her first night, it was simply perfect. From Xiuxiu's proactive kiss and emotional response just now, if she wants to stay here, or if she wants to come over tonight, please help take care of her. I'll take care of it. And you? If she's here, I won't come over. She hasn't come over yet. Why? She's just a sophomore girl, and such a big thing happened all of a sudden. Her emotions must be very unstable. At this time, no matter what decision she makes, it's immature. He took a long breath and continued, let's wait for a week. It's been so long since we last met, I think she should be able to calmly think it through. Okay then. Also, if she asks about my situation, just tell her the truth. Tell the truth. Because I think in her mind now, I am probably a hero-like character, and also a handsome hero. After he finished speaking, he chuckled twice and continued. But in fact, I am just a prodigal son, and even a scumbag. I have cheated on many women, and it is unlikely that I will become single-minded in the future. Xiao Runan understood his meaning. She agreed verbally, but had other thoughts in her heart. I'm leaving. There's nothing special this week, so I won't come over. Xiao Runan leaned against the man's ear and said in a greasy voice. So what if I miss you? Then let's go to the company. If Nan is the owner of an investment company, there is a rest room in the office. Anyway, they haven't rolled around there before. The small clubhouse has a good environment and the king bed is more comfortable, but occasionally switching to an office space is also quite interesting. The woman gave him a charming gaze, full of charm. This seductive allure that captivates the soul burns the man's heart with excitement. Jian Lai gritted his teeth with hatred, and if it weren't for the wrong timing, he would definitely have dealt with this charming fairy on the spot. Xiao Runan looked at the pure and beautiful stunning girl in front of her and sincerely praised. Xiuxiu's sister is really beautiful. Even a woman like me was moved by her. Xiuxiu felt a bit embarrassed and said softly, "Sister, you are even more beautiful. Sister is getting older, how can she compare to a young girl like you? Sister, you still look like a young girl." Talking about a young girl is a bit exaggerated, but Xiao Runan's skin is white and tender, and she does look very young. Of course, she is not very old, not yet 29 years old. Xiuxiu's sister is not only beautiful, but also has such a sweet mouth. No wonder Brother Lai likes it so much. Xiuxiu lowered her head somewhat shyly. Seeing the girl's reaction, Xiao Runan immediately had a judgment in her heart. "Sister, your luck is really good. You gave it to Lai Ge the first time." She did envy this girl a bit and accidentally gave it to Lai Ge. She knew that Lai Ge wouldn't easily get away with a virgin. He once said that those who can preserve their virginity are good girls. He doesn't want to harm the good girl. So last night she wanted to promote Xiuxiu, but he firmly refused. Xiuxiu didn't expect this sister to be so straightforward, she suddenly felt even more embarrassed. In my heart, how could my brother tell others about such a shameful thing? My luck was a bit bad, I married a jerk. But after the divorce, things changed and I gave it to my brother every time. Xiuxiu thought to herself, this sister is so bold. Then there was a secret speculation about their relationship. I am his lover. Seeing the girl staring blankly, she added, I volunteered and I feel very happy. There is certainly a reason why she came up and told Xiuxiu so straightforwardly. Firstly, Lai Ge is really too strong, so strong that she is not human. She has long been unable to support herself alone. Secondly, although Brother Lai said he didn't want to be bound by marriage, who knows what will happen in the future. Moreover, it seems that my brother's behavior clearly likes this girl. If the two become boyfriend and girlfriend or even husband and wife in the future, it would be much better for me to tell her this now than for her to discover it later on. Xiuxiu did not expect that the older sister who came to introduce her to her brother would actually be his lover. However, in addition to being surprised, she found that she did not have any intention of rejection, and also felt that this beautiful older sister was both sincere and friendly. Subsequently, Xiao Runan began to introduce herself, and then it was Xiuxiu's turn. However, Jian Lai has already roughly explained the situation of the latter to her. After the introduction, Xiuxiu hesitated for a moment and said with some embarrassment. Sister Nan, can you tell me about Brother Lai? Apart from his name, I don't know anything about him. Xiao Runan thought to herself, so far it seems that this little snow girl has probably fallen in love with her brother. However, Brother Lai's analysis is also very reasonable. This girl just stumbled upon this handsome guy last night, and the latter helped her a lot. At this time, it is indeed easy for her to have a hot head and get emotional. The emotions expressed naturally after calming down for a period of time are the true ones. So she smiled and said, Sister, what do you want to know? As long as I know, I will tell you. When Jian came downstairs, she happened to run into Xiuxiu. Noticing the latter's melancholic gaze, he couldn't help but feel a surge of dizziness. Although not as beautiful as Xiuxiu, she is also a very beautiful girl. But such a simple, kind, and beautiful girl, Jian Lai just wants to stay away from her. Because he has psychological shadows and concerns, he would rather be a prodigal. He couldn't provide her with the marriage, family, and happiness she needed, so he didn't want to delay or even harm such a girl. After graduating from a third-rate university, Xiuxiu couldn't find a good job for a while. Coincidentally, after establishing a relationship with Jian Lai, Xiaorunan stabilized and the investment company was soon established. She wanted to take care of her cousin and asked Jane to come and work at the company. At night, she stayed in a room on the second floor of the small club. There is a small living room and 2 large private rooms on the first floor of the small club. There are 2 private rooms on the second floor, 1 large and 1 small, as well as 2 guest rooms. Normally, there are no residents, so keep the spare ones. Xiuxiu lives in this room on the east side. Jian Lai, because she often comes over at night, inevitably meets Xiuxiu, and naturally becomes familiar with her after seeing many people. He knows his situation and is prone to attracting bees and butterflies. So he was really careful with Runan's cousin, not to mention teasing him, he never even joked about it. Unexpectedly, even so, this girl still unconsciously fell in love with herself. A promiscuous son with a lover, who was still her cousin. After all, it's still the handsome appearance that caused the trouble. He is currently considering whether to let Runan find another place for her to live. Because he felt that he was only superficially familiar with Xiuxiu, but actually had little in-depth understanding in communication. She will have such inexplicable feelings for herself, probably because inexperienced girls can't help but fall for love after seeing handsome guys. Just like those crazy little girls who blindly worship handsome celebrities. As long as we don't see each other again in the future, her infatuation due to her appearance will naturally disappear like morning dew under the sunshine without a trace. Chapter 8. The Waves of Spring in the Daytime. You are listening at novelfull.audio. According to Jian Lai's plan, I will report to my superiors today and apply to take over Yan Honggang's rape case. However, last night's episode occurred, and clearing Sun Gongbao became a top priority. Before taking action, he decided to peep again for the last time. He is also busy enough. Previously, he only peeped at his neighbors at night, but recently he has been peeping at the mafia and colleagues again. The word peeping sounds unpleasant, but he not only has no psychological burden, but also enjoys it. Because although he peeps, he is not abnormal, and there are no strange and indescribable special hobbies. His purpose of peeping is simply to know who has done something wrong and who needs help. Because of this, he can better practice his life goal of punishing evil and promoting good, weeding out the strong and supporting the weak. He is currently peeping at the boss of the anti-black group upstairs and the office of Sheriff Ma Yongyan. His interest in this middle-aged uncle was purely accidental. Because once he and Pang Ran were investigating another incident and unexpectedly discovered that anti-black group A2, i.e. Team A's second squad, including Commander Chen Xinjie, senior inspector, and several police officers were all black police officers. These people are the umbrellas of the gang organization 8 Union Society. And the leader of this 8 Union Society is Sun Gongbao, the famous leopard brother, in the martial arts world. Then he began his busy voyeurism work. Peeping at Chen Xinjie and sneaking into his colleagues, including superiors at all levels. Peeping at Sun Gongbao and the leaders and backbone of the gang. After a long period of repeated exploration, I have gained a lot. Within the police department, no abnormalities were found from other superiors, but it was confirmed that Ma Yongyan was a black police officer. In addition, there are Senior Inspector Chao Tianyang of C1 and several of his subordinates, who are also their accomplices. Jian has been observing for a while now, but still hasn't made any new discoveries. Based on the information obtained from the gang leaders, multiple close conversations between Ma Yongyan and his subordinates, Chen and Chao, as well as their communication with others while alone, it can be seen that Ma Yongyan is the overall leader of this gang and the largest protector of the 8 Union Society. Since there are no higher-level black police officers behind, there is no need to wait any longer. Anyway, Sun Gongbao's matter needs to be resolved as soon as possible, so let's take it to the internet cafe. Jian carefully organized the notes taken after multiple voyeurs and printed them out together with the plan he had thought about last night. He carefully reviewed it twice again and realized that it was almost there. He then put it in his notebook and prepared to go find Ling Sir to report. Just as I walked out of the office, a guest came to my door. The person coming is Senior Inspector Gao Lang from the anti-black group. He began to think that Qingpi had filed a lawsuit and that they had come to retrieve the venue. To his surprise, Gao Lang was very polite. Qingpi is said to be his distant relative, so he does help take care of him in his daily life. I didn't expect this kid to be so immature and dare to have the idea of Jian Sir's girlfriend. He came up, first to indicate that he had already warned Qingpi, and second to solemnly apologize for the latter, hoping that this matter would end. Please don't hold grudges, Jian Lai. Jian Lai, due to his involvement with Qingpi, did not have a good impression of his backstage, Gao Lang. In addition, after he learned that the police chief in charge of the anti-black group and several of his subordinates were black police officers, he hated the house and Wu. As a result, Inspector Shi's impression of him was lowered a bit. However, as the saying goes, reaching out and not hitting a smiling person, even because he is a relationship between Ling Sir and his former influencer, they will be polite, but as a senior of the same level, with such a low attitude, what else can he say? Face is given to each other, so he is also very polite. The Qingpi incident, as long as it no longer involves Sun Gongbao, will pass like this. Xiuxiu, is Ling Sir there? Yang Xinxian said, yes, but Jian Sir is inside. Can I help you pass it on? Jian Lai is just a senior inspector in the district, while Ling Yunji is the assistant minister of the police department in Xiuxiu City and the commander of the Wanghai General District. The level difference between the two is exactly 5 levels, separated by the chief inspector, police chief, senior police chief, and chief police chief. However, it is common for him to report work to Ling Sir by going over the level, and the several levels of superiors in between have long been accustomed to this. Not to mention that, sometimes when Ling Sir is discussing work with other senior police officers, he dares to let Yang Xinxian directly communicate any urgent matters. Throughout the entire Wanghai district, anyone with a bit of insight knows that he is Ling Sir's trusted general. After thinking for a moment, Jian said, wait a minute. Okay, Jian Sir. There have been many things going on lately, and Jian Lai is sitting and waiting, thinking and clearing his mind. Yang Xinxian secretly observed him. At such a young age, he is already a senior inspector and a confidant of Ling Sir. His future is limitless. The most crucial thing is, this little brother is too handsome. Even more handsome than those celebrities. Especially the way he sits quietly and thinks seriously, his temperament is simply mesmerizing. If only her boyfriend were him, she thought to herself and even fantasized about some indescribable scenes in her mind unconsciously, her heart rate accelerated, and both cheeks surprisingly blushed. As soon as Jian Lai withdrew from her thoughts, she noticed a fiery gaze. He instinctively froze for a moment, then followed his gaze and immediately noticed the woman's obviously unusual expression. He's not a junior brother, he's very experienced. In addition, this girl has already hinted at herself more than once before, intentionally or unintentionally. So he guessed something in an instant. Although Yang Xinxian is not a first-class beauty, her beauty is also quite good, and her watery peach blossom eyes add a lot of color to her. If he were to change his identity or take the initiative to flirt, he might have already gotten involved with someone else. But she is the secretary of Ling Sir, and it's really inconvenient to speak with such a clumsy mess. If Ling Sir finds out, even if he doesn't criticize him, he will still feel embarrassed. Besides, I once heard her mention that she has a boyfriend. Although it's just a boyfriend and not a husband, getting out doesn't necessarily mean destroying the family, there is always a suspicion of prying into the corner, which is not good. So he can only choose to play dumb. I didn't expect this girl to be so passionate during this broad day. He first fell silent and laughed, then remembered the look in Xiuxiu's eyes before. He was very ordinary and troubled. You look so handsome, sometimes it can be really troublesome. I didn't even flirt, I didn't even say much, just sit quietly like this, it would provoke imagination. You're really shot lying down. At that moment, the office door opened and Chief Superintendent Jian Zhongshuan walked out. Jian quickly stood up and called out, "Jian Sir." Yang Xinxian surprisingly adjusted her emotions in an instant and returned to her dignified and generous secretary demeanor. The speed at which she changed her face was amazing. Jian Sir had a serious expression on his face, as if he had a heavy heart. He only nodded slightly to greet Jian Lai without saying anything. Jian didn't think much about it. He's just a big inspector, and it's not his turn to worry about high-level matters. After Jian Sir walked away, he gestured to Xiuxiu. "Ling Sir, Inspector Jian is here." There are a total of 5 inspectors surnamed Jian from the headquarters, but there are no summoners who dare to come directly to find Ling Sir. Apart from Jian, there is no second one. Let him in. Chapter 9. If the woman who wants to sleep with me wants to kill you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Because they were too familiar with each other, Jane had something to talk about as soon as she came in. Ling Sir. Ma Yongyan is a black police officer. Ling Yunji was directly stunned. He has been in the police for so many years and has had contact with a large number of law enforcement personnel. Jian Lai is the most capable but also the most unconventional one he has ever seen. This kid really likes to meddle in things, but he also has a lot of connections. He often brings some strange news and reports, and then requests that they A1 take over. Unfortunately, every time it's not just a matter of catching the wind and shadows, but in the end, it's always possible to uncover the truth. So even though some of them should not be managed by the serious case team and belong to the category of crossing the boundary, he agreed. However, this is the first time that this idle matter has been meddled in one's own head. Especially a grand police officer, which did surprise him a bit. However, he never doubted the ability of this beloved general, and did not even care how the latter was discovered or whether there was evidence. Although this kid often has a playful face, as if he's not very easygoing, he's always reliable when it comes to getting things done and never makes a single mistake. Since he said Ma Yongyan is a black police officer, then the latter must be a black police officer. Is there anyone else? Chen Xinjie, Senior Inspector of Anti-Black A2, Chao Tianliang, Senior Inspector of C1, and several police officers under their command. What about the senior management? As far as I know, there should be only Ma Yongyan. Upon hearing that there was only one senior executive, Ling Yunji felt a little relieved. There is a senior police officer in the district who is also the head of the anti-black group. He must be the commander of the general district with no face. However, if it was discovered by oneself first and actively reported to the higher authorities, the situation would be different. He pondered for a moment and said, "I understand. You don't need to intervene in this matter." He knows to ask Jane to investigate and there will be results soon. However, this matter is different from other idle matters. It is the responsibility of the Internal Investigation Department to investigate black police, and the serious crime team, especially those in the same jurisdiction, is definitely not suitable for intervention. If this kid can help himself clear a big landmine, it's already enough. Unexpectedly, Ling Sir, I want to join in on this matter. Ling Yunji was taken aback again. Although this kid has always liked to meddle in things, he still has a sense of propriety. How to say it? Ling Sir, take a look at these first. He handed over his peeping records and action plan as he spoke. Ling Yunji took it over and looked at it quickly. Jane secretly observed his reaction. Surprisingly, it was just a slightly surprised expression. It was indeed a high-level official who had been in a high position for a long time, and his calmness was extraordinary. After a quick browse, Ling Yunji watched it again and this time he looked more carefully. You kid, you really have great powers. I know this kid has many connections and strong abilities, but it's still beyond his imagination. This is a person who has done all the work of the anti-black team and the intelligence team. Even stronger. How long has a large group of people been staring at the 8 Associated Press, and they haven't been able to find any key evidence yet? This kid is so good. Not only does he have a bunch, but many details are even clear, and he even dug up a police insider. Although the content of the notes can only be considered as clues and not direct evidence, it is already sufficient to support the action. Jian Lai chuckled and realized it. Because Ling Sir's expression is not only not solemn, but also quite relaxed, and even somewhat happy. Xiao Lai, what do you think of Yang Weiliang? Yang Weiliang is the head of the criminal department and a senior police officer in the general district, serving as the head, superior, and superior of Jian Lai. Jian Lai has very little direct contact with him, and his reporting work is basically at the level of Chief Inspector Jian Lai and Police Inspector Yu Dingan. As for Ling Sir, who is 5 levels behind, he is able to report at his doorstep freely because there is an unusually close personal relationship between the two. I didn't notice any problem. This is the truth, as evidenced by the peeping situation. What is your own impression? It's pretty good. I feel like a decent person. It's unlikely to be a black police officer. Ling Yunji chuckled and picked up the internal phone. Let Yang Weiliang come. After greeting each other, Ling Yunji simply handed over the information he had received. However, only the upper part and notes were submitted. Take a look at this. Yang Weiliang took it over and just glanced at it. He was already covered in cold sweat. He immediately stood up and called out, Ling Sir. Don't be nervous, I can trust you. You sit down first and wait until you finish reading. Yang Weiliang finally calmed down and sat back down, taking a very careful look. Ling Sir, I want to reflect on you. As the head of the criminal department and the police officer in charge of anti-gang activities, you are the umbrella of the gang. This oversight is inevitable. Ling Sir. But now there is an opportunity to make up for the shortcomings. Ling Yunji handed over the plan. Take a look, is this action plan feasible? Yang Weiliang quickly browsed through it. It's written very well, overall there's no problem, some details need to be further improved. After speaking, he turned to Jian and sincerely said, Inspector Jian, thank you for your hard work. Ling Sir told him about such a big matter, but Jian Lai, a small senior inspector, was always present. What does that mean? Combined with this kid's consistent performance, he could guess with his feet that this must be Jian Lai's pen. Jian quickly stood up and said, Yang Sir, this is what I should do. Yang Weiliang thought to himself, this kid is indeed known for being meddlesome. This is not what you should do. But this idle matter, manage it well, he truly appreciates it. Such a large landmine is buried under my own eyes. When will it explode? I will at least peel off my skin. Thanks to this kid, he has the opportunity to take the initiative to mine and make up for it. On the evening of that day, the police department of Xiuxiu City released an explosive news. The operation is personally commanded by Ling Yunji, the regional commander and assistant minister. The anti-black group, serious case group, special duty group, license plate class, assault team, mobile unit and other personnel from multiple departments jointly launched a heavy attack and successfully dismantled a gang called the 8 Union Society. According to the report, preliminary evidence shows that the gang is suspected of multiple serious crimes such as murder, kidnapping, injury, rape, drug trafficking, and organizing prostitution. In this operation, the police arrested a total of 83 men and 13 women, and the gang leader Sun Gongbao and a group of key members were all arrested. In addition, the police also arrested multiple black police officers, including a police chief, 2 senior inspectors, as well as a police chief and several police officers. As a member of the anti-black group, Gao Lang also participated in this operation. He was already celebrating at that time. As for now, watching the TV reports, he even secretly praises his own intelligence, lowering his stance early in the morning and apologizing to Jane. A grand sheriff, take it down as soon as he says, I heard it was Jian who led the team to arrest. Not to mention that, for such a large club as the 8 Union Society, their anti-black team has been investigating for a long time, but they can't find any evidence and can't move a single bit. This Jian kid only boasted about going to trouble Sun Gongbao last night. In just one day, I ruined the entire club. I heard that Jian Lai had already gone to find Ling Sir, and not long after, Ling Sir notified a group of senior executives for a meeting. Afterwards, there was this assault operation. Although he had long known that this kid was a popular figure in front of Ling Sir, Xiuxiu never expected him to become so popular. Niobi, a capital suit. After much thought, he finally decided to make a phone call. Jian Sir, I'm Xiuxiu. It's okay. It's just my cousin who caused you so much trouble yesterday. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I always feel sorry. There's nothing else I want to do, just invite someone to have a drink. You can set the time. Then wait for your notification. Okay, goodbye. After making the phone call, Gao Lang completely let go of his worries. Since Jian Sir is willing to come and drink, then the matter of Qingpi should be considered settled. Chapter 10. Brother Lai, don't you want to try a pair of beds? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The Gale raid on the Wanghai General District has been a great success. As a result, most colleagues in the headquarters have been working very hard and busy this day. Apart from the actions themselves, there is also a lot of follow-up work to follow up on. However, as the most important driver of action, Jian Lai is not at all busy. Ling Sir assigned him an easy task, which can be considered a disguised reward. This task is to lead a team to arrest black police officers. It's really too easy, because after catching it, it's over. The subsequent interrogation work did not require them to worry and was immediately transferred to the Internal Investigation Department. Jian Lai is in a good mood. Helped Ling Sir clear a large landmine and launched a major operation, destroying a famous gang and sending Sun Gongbao in. Xiuxiu's problem was completely resolved. Kill 2 birds with 1 arrow, complete both official and private matters smoothly, everything is perfect. The only regret is that he received news from Xiao Runan. After chatting in the morning, Xiuxiu went to school normally, but she still came over at night. According to Runan's words, your little snow sister is eager to see through you. This made his mood very complicated, a bit joyful, but more conflicted. He knew he liked this girl, but the shadow of the heavenly demon Lone Star lingered in his heart, and he was afraid. He is afraid that if he is with Xiuxiu, it will implicate her. So he actually hoped that Xiuxiu could leave, and that one-night stand was a one-night stand. He may feel a bit disappointed in this way, but he won't have any psychological burden. But Xiuxiu has arrived, and even though she knows he's not there, she won't go back to school. Just wait for him there. He couldn't even be sure if he could grit his heart and refuse this girl. What's even more despicable is that some fairy is still pushing the waves. Brother Lai, don't you want to try, double beds are good. Seeing this explosive word, the experienced prodigal quickly added some indescribable scenes to his mind stacking inside. Covering inside. Sandwich the picture of Nima is too beautiful to imagine anymore. Jian Lai, with supreme perseverance, forcefully restrained his already tumultuous desire and responded with a message. Good night. Fortunately, today is not one of those days, otherwise, I'm afraid I might not be able to withstand it. Then he added another note, asking Nan Nan to tell Xiuxiu that he wouldn't come over for the next week, so she shouldn't come either. Since I cannot guarantee restraint, I can only hope that Xiuxiu can calm down. Having nothing to do, but also afraid of having wild thoughts in her free time, Jane walked out of the study and went to the gym to start exercising early. Although some equipment was also placed in the room, it was all a cover-up. His strong physique is innate and reaches a stable peak state as he develops and matures, without the need for physical strength training. He trained his superpowers, initially through his ability to control objects with his mind, and later on, he gained an additional cognitive ability. If someone happens to walk into this room at this moment, they may be frightened and sick by the eerie scene inside. I saw 2 huge stone locks floating in the room out of nowhere, as if they had come to life, sometimes flipping up and down, sometimes swaying left and right. It seems like a pair of invisible hands are manipulating them, dancing in a free dance. However, this scene that seriously violates physics is just a daily lesson for Jian Lai to exercise his mind control ability. Long-term hard work brings great rewards. His current psychic power is astonishingly powerful. He once secretly attempted to use his psychic power to control an abandoned off-road vehicle and throw it more than 20 meters away. You should know that this is a behemoth weighing up to 2 tons. In the past 2 years, he has started to focus on skills and multitasking training. Now he can easily and freely control 2 160-pound stone locks or 4 70-pound dumbbells at the same time. As usual, he practiced for 15 minutes. I am more and more satisfied with my conscious control. Subsequently, Jane began practicing flying. He actually doesn't have real flying ability. This is a disguised gameplay of his own invention of mind power control. This gameplay comes from a sudden idea a few years ago. If your mind can control things, can you control your body? The result is really possible. At first, he was very uncomfortable, easily dizzy, and the controls were very uncoordinated, making it difficult for him to maintain balance in the air. But after a long period of hard exercise, and with the rapid growth of his mental strength, he is now able to move freely in the air and change his body posture and height as he pleases. The only drawback is that if the speed is too fast, the handling will become very difficult. Even so, it made him extremely excited because it gave him the ability to float or even fly at slow or medium speeds, as well as vertical takeoff and landing and reverse. Although far from being comparable to Superman's rocket-like flight, he was also quite satisfied. He was quite energetic this time, shuttling around the entire room and flying for over half an hour. Fortunately, his 218 square meter floor area is large enough to fly comfortably. It was not until his mind began to feel faint fatigue that he began to meditate and regain his mental strength. The following homework, of course, is his favorite thought. This superpower is not only incredibly practical, but also very fun, so much so that he can't even stop. Because the way to exercise this ability is through constant feeling. Of course, he can also feel the flowers, plants, and trees outside, but these boring things are not interesting to live with. So, he felt it and felt that someone else's house had gone, becoming a de facto peeping. However, he has no sense of shame and no psychological burden. Firstly, this is just a side effect of exercise, or rather a form of expression. Secondly, he peeps at others, not to satisfy abnormal desires, but rather to understand them, see who is good and who is bad, whether anyone is doing something bad, and whether anyone needs help. Who's going to exercise and improve my thinking today? He has fully understood all the neighbors in this building, and he has already managed or is currently managing several typical villains. I have also helped those who are in big trouble and need help. The rest of the family gossip is like a water-filled drama, just jump in and watch it casually. If there are no special circumstances, he probably doesn't need to take action anymore. I remember, there is another fish in the net in this building, which is the one opposite me, room 1802. After the divorce of the former head of household, the couple sold the house and it was vacant for a period of time. However, a few days ago, he happened to see workers moving furniture inside, indicating that someone had taken over the tray. He has been paying close attention to Yan Honggang, the rapist, recently, and has not had a chance to get to know his new neighbor yet. Coincidentally, there's nothing to do tonight, so let's go to the opposite door to exercise and get familiar with the new family that has just moved in.